Parasite burden and severity of malaria in Tanzania. Definition: severe plasmodium infection. Malaria is major cause of death in children. The conservation of the parasite burden to the pathogens of severe malaria has been controversial.
Malaria is caused by a parasite, a tiny single-celled organism in the blood vessels and livers of human beings. It's a serious disease that disables and kills an estimated 660,000 people every year. Though half of the world's population's lives are at risk of malaria, 90% of all malaria deaths occur in Africa. Despite medical advances, the disease continues to be a problem. It is estimated that every 60 seconds, a child under the age of 5 dies from malaria in Africa. But there is hope that one day, malaria will no longer burden the people of Africa. Angela and Regina both have daughters infected with malaria. These mothers have come to the Shampandi clinic in southern Zambia to receive medication. Supplying effective drugs within Africa is a challenge. Regina and Angela desperately hope to find treatments for their suffering daughters.
Most patients who have malaria or think they have malaria or their children might have malaria might live quite a distance from where anti-malarials are actually found, whether they are given away free, as in health posts, most health posts, or they're sold in pharmacies or other distribution posts. The closer you are to a health center or a health post, the closer you are to a pharmacy of any kind, the more likely you are to get good access.
One of the biggest problems in Africa is lack of health education, which can lead to a lack of malaria diagnosis and treatment. Every year, the continent loses an estimated $12 billion in gross domestic product due directly to the disease.
It's not just enough to provide drugs. I think it's very important to ensure that the drugs get to the patients wherever they are, especially those that are in very remote villages in the countryside. And this is where the capacity building efforts are so important. This includes training educational healthcare workers on malaria diagnosis and treatment, and providing the technology such as SMS for Life to avoid stockouts.
With inconsistent availability of treatments, mothers like Regina and Angela can only wait and hope for the arrival of effective drugs for their daughters. Through the continuing efforts of people on 4 continents, some patients are lucky. Mothers Angela and Regina finally receive much-needed treatments for their daughters.
Application in nursing. Treatment of malaria depends on many factors including disease severity, the species of malaria parasite causing the infection, and the parts of the world in which the infection was occurred. The layers those characteristics are determines the probability that organism resists of certain anti-malaria drugs. Additional factors such as age, weight, and pregnancy stage may limit an available option for malaria treatment.
The malaria parasite's life cycle is very complex, involving many stages. As the mosquito feeds, malaria sporozoites enter into the human bloodstream. They quickly make their way to the liver and infect liver cells with the help of the circumsporozoite protein. The parasite develops into mature schizones, creating tens of thousands of merozoites, which burst out of the cell and journey back toward the bloodstream. They then infect healthy red blood cells, reproducing and eventually rupturing the cell, liberating more merozoites, which in turn go on to infect other cells, leading to the massive destruction of red blood cells. A few of the infected cells develop into gametocytes, which can remain in the bloodstream for several days and may be ingested by another mosquito during the subsequent feeding. Inside the mosquito, the gametocytes develop into new sporozoites. So now the human has infected the mosquito, the life cycle comes full circle and continues.
Pros and cons. Pros. They are very sensitive, can be used as separate space. Cons. The percentage of persons in specialty is not perfect, the hazardous breeding.
Plasmodium vivax, the dominant form of malaria outside Africa, can remain dormant in the liver after initial infection as the hypnozoite stage, and then reactivate weeks or years later. While chloroquine can treat the parasite in red blood cells, hypnozoites need to be cleared to achieve cure. Primaquine has been the mainstay treatment for elimination of the hypnozoites, but non-adherence jeopardizes cure. Tafenoquine is a long-acting medication that's recently been approved by the FDA to achieve cure for Plasmodium vivax. Both tafenoquine and primaquine can cause hemolysis in those with G6PD deficiency. The detective trial was a double-blind, parallel-group, randomized Phase 3 study that assessed the use of tafenoquine in Peru, Brazil, Ethiopia, Thailand, Cambodia, and the Philippines. 522 adults with microscopically confirmed Plasmodium vivax infection and greater than 70% normal G6PD activity were treated with a 3-day course of chloroquine and then randomized to a single 300 mg dose of tafenoquine, placebo, or a 15 mg dose of primaquine daily for 14 days. The primary outcome was 6-month recurrence-free efficacy, defined as microscopically confirmed clearance of Plasmodium vivax. Tafenoquine had a significantly higher recurrence-free efficacy rate over 6 months, at 62.4% as compared with 27.7% with placebo, as did primaquine at 69.6%. With tafenoquine, there were asymptomatic transient declines in the hemoglobin level. The authors conclude that single-dose tafenoquine significantly reduced the risk of Plasmodium vivax recurrence as compared with placebo in G6PD normal patients. Full trial results are available at nejm.org.
Use in Ecuador. There is more risk in Quezon province and risk in Guayaquil, Quito, other cities in Inter and region and the Galapagos Islands. Avoid mosquito by covering ox with chlorine, shoes and long sleeves, and long shorts, especially after sunsets, using insect repellents on exposed skins, and when necessary, spray bullet and mosquito net. Conclusion. The various variants of several dishes and high-density infection are infants, as well as in similar parasites before and after several malarias, indicating natural acute resistance to several malarias is not explained by improved control of parasite density.